All right, we had a whole project that was created for us, right? This folder that's now on our desktop, and there's all sorts of different things in there, and it's probably a little bit confusing. The main thing that I want to do with this course is really demystify what's happening with Django so that you have a good grasp on what's going on. So just a quick look at this. We have one folder called password_generator, and then within that, another folder called password_generator, and then there's more things inside of that. So the first thing that I always like to do is take that top level folder, make sure it's the very top one that has the same folder and same named folder inside of it. And let's rename this top level folder to be password generator-project. For me, this always just conceptually helps to know which folder I'm in. If I see -project, I know I'm at the very top level. If I see password generator, well, I know that that's the one that's inside of my project. It just kind of helps to provide some clarity. So now that we have that, let's go ahead and open up this project inside of a code editor. Again, I'm going to use Atom, but feel free to use whatever you'd like. I'm going to open up Atom here, and I'm going to say File Open, and I'm going to choose my project folder so it opens up the entire thing. And this will be helpful to go through all the individual pieces of our project. So first, this manage.py. So this file is something that we should never tinker with inside the code here. This is not meant to be edited by us. I mean, technically, if you're doing some really advanced things, you can. But really, this just helps us to do some common things. So like you just saw, we can use the manage.py to run our server, right? If we go back to our terminal, hit the Control-C, right? We did Python 3 manage.py to run the server. If you do Python 3 manage.py in help, you can see all the different things that this manage.py file can do for you. We're not going to be using all of these, but things like the create super user, we're gonna do that. We're gonna collect static. We're gonna be starting an app here in the next lecture. There's all sorts of just little helpful things that this file can do for us. But again, not meant to be edited by us. There's this db.sqlite3. DB stands for database, and we're not going to be touching that in this website, but it's going to be the real focus of the next website, so stay tuned for that. Inside of our password generator folder, remember this is the one that's inside of the top level one. First, there's this folder called PyCache, and this is just cached code for when we run our project, and this is something that's generated by Python. If we delete this and run the project again, this is going to reappear, so don't worry about this code at all. It's not meant to be read by us. This init, this is a really advanced feature about you can add in some special things when Django launches for the very first time. We don't need to worry about that. Both this ASCII and WSGI files here, these are used when you're deploying a project, or basically when you're making your website live on the internet. So we're not going to be touching with these, but after we build our second website and then deploy it, these are going to come into play there. So next is the settings.py, and this one is really important, and so that you can really see a lot here, I'm going to take down the size of my font here. I'm probably having a hard time seeing all the different stuff that I'm typing here, so let's go ahead and shrink this down a bit. Okay, now we'll get back to our settings here. So, and the main focus here is I don't want you to be afraid of the settings file because it's really powerful, and I want you to realize that you can kind of tweak with this and see what happens. So first, base directory. This is just saying where on your computer your project's living. Right now, it's all sort of relative to where the project is launched, but you could change this to a hard, place in your computer, but I wouldn't mess with this. This secret key, this is used whenever you have some sort of data flowing in and out of your website. So you'll see here as we create the password generator, if we're going to be moving things, this can become helpful there. This is not a thing you want to share with others or let them know, because if they have this, they can do some serious manipulating of your data. But this really only applies once you launch your project live on the internet. And if someone were ever to find this out, you could always just quickly change it to be something else. And it's not going to affect really much there. So don't worry too much about that secret key. Debug. So our website can either be in debug mode or not. And in debug mode, basically anytime there's a problem, we get really detailed information about what happened that helps us to fix the problem. When it's not debug mode, we get none of that. So a great example of this is, let's go ahead and run our server. Okay. And I'm going to go to localhost :8000/ and I'm just going to type in some gibberish. And I'm going to get this page that says, hey, we can't find this particular website. We tried looking for it. It didn't work. And there's like a couple of different pieces that's trying to help us find the solution here. But this page only shows up if we are in debug mode. If we go back to our settings and we change this to capital false, save this, and then reload this page, you see we just get nothing. It shows nothing here. And so, well, okay, we've got to go run the server. Well, this gets us to another point. Technically, in order to do this, don't worry about this. We have to provide localhost here in our allowed hosts. And then we can try running this again and reload. And you'll see when we do that, we get a very bland not found error. So this is not helpful to us as developers. And so basically it's while you're working on your project on your local computer, you want debug mode true. When you launch your project, deploy it, you want that to be equal to false. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this local host, set this back to true. I just wanted you to see the importance of that. This installed apps, this is a way to bring in different pieces of code into your project. We're going to be touching on this in the next lecture. Middleware, again, this is some kind of built-in Django things that can help out your project. You really don't have to worry about these most of the time. Root URL conf, this is just asking where your URLs file is, and we're going to talk about that in a second. Templates, this helps us to return back particular types of HTML code. So really any web server out there, its whole purpose is to spit back HTML code for a given web page. So for example, even just the Django standard page here, this one, if we go ahead and right click and do view page source, this is really what our web server is giving back to the browser, is all this HTML code, although it's the browser's job to take this massive thing of text and make it look like this beautiful thing. And so anyways, these templates are going to be helpful eventually to produce our own things rather than just that default page there. WSGI application, again, this is whenever you deploy your project, this is dealing with that. Databases, we're not going to use this till website 2, but I want to show you kind of a fun thing that whatever you name here, it's going to save into your project. So right now you see there's that db.sqlite3. If we change this to, for example, eggs.sqlite3, and we like close our server and then restart, there's now an eggs.sqlite3. So that's what this is all about. Eggs isn't really a great name for a database, but so I'll go ahead and put that back. But I just wanted to show you that you can edit that if you'd like. These password validators in our third website, when we have a whole login system, these are crucial to say, I want to have a minimum length for the passwords and, look out for common things, stuff like that. Kind of funny that we're building a password generator now that could help with these situations. And then finally down here at the bottom, here's some stuff to customize your website. So for example, this is saying this is an English US website. You could change this to different countries and localities, time zone, different things like that. The static URL, we're not going to touch that till the second website. So maybe I went into too much detail with the settings.py, but I just don't want you to be afraid of this file because it's going to be really powerful and help us to make some sweet websites. Finally, the urls.py. What is this all about? This is really the starting point for any Django project. So when someone goes to their URL and types out something like localhost / password, whatever it is that they have. Oh, this is from previously when I showed you the example, like length of 6, and I want special characters on. This little string right here that someone entered into the browser bar, this comes to this urls.py file, and it says, what should I do with this? Where should I send the user to? What kind of information am I giving back? So you'll see as we go forward that this really is the starting point for our Django project. So just realize like everything goes through here. And if you ever get confused, just remember it starts here. It's eventually going to go to a view, and I'll dive into all of that. All right, that's enough for this lecture. Let's go ahead and move on and create our very first web page.